Drummerly.com Unlimited Drama Series.
The coffee grinder died at 3:17 a.m., making that grinding mechanical death rattle that old appliances make when they've finally had enough of your shit. I was sitting in my kitchen, staring at the broken piece of machinery, when I heard Candace's BMW purr into our driveway. She was supposed to be at Victor's team building retreat until Sunday. It was Friday night. I'd been married to Candace Ellery for 12 years. 12 years of watching her climb the corporate ladder at Paxton Industries while I built houses with my bare hands. 12 years of her subtle digs about my blue-collar sensibilities and her increasingly frequent business trips with her CEO boss, Victor Paxton. The front door opened with that particular careful quietness that screams guilt. I heard her heels click softly across our hardwood floors, the same floors I'd installed myself when we bought this Victorian fixer-upper, back when she still pretended to love my craftsmanship. "Jack?" Her voice carried that fake sleepy tone she used when she was lying. I held up her passport and her phone, both of which she'd left on the kitchen counter before her retreat to Victor's lake house. "Lose something?" Candace froze in the doorway, still wearing that expensive black dress I'd never seen before. Her makeup was smudged, her hair disheveled in a way that told a story I didn't want to read. "Jack, don't be childish." She reached for her phone, but I pulled it back. "Childish?" I laughed, scrolling through her messages. "Is that what we're calling it when your husband finds out you've been screwing your boss?" Her face went pale. "You went through my phone?" "I went through everything, Candace. Bank statements, credit cards, hotel receipts. You've been busy." I stood up, my 6-foot frame towering over her petite figure. "But this is my favorite part." I pressed play on a video from her phone. Victor's voice filled our kitchen, loud and drunk and arrogant. "Jack Ellery? That contractor husband of yours? He's just a starter kit husband, sweetheart. I'm the luxury model. When you're ready to upgrade, you know where to find me." The sound of Candace's laughter on the recording cut through me like a blade. "Jack, I can explain." "No need." I deleted the video and tossed her phone on the counter. "I'm just starting my own upgrade." My phone rang. Perfect timing. "Hello, Richard," I said, answering my financial advisor's call while staring directly at Candace. "Yes, I know it's late. I need you to liquidate everything. The whole portfolio. All 38 million. And put the lake house on the market. Tonight." Candace's face drained of color. "Jack, you can't watch me." By Monday morning, Candace had discovered just how thoroughly I'd upgraded our situation. Every joint account was frozen. Every credit card was canceled. The lake house, which she'd been using as her personal love nest with Victor, had a "for sale" sign planted in its manicured front lawn. I was in my workshop, building a custom cabinet for the Morrison family, when my phone buzzed. A text from Dana, my sister, who worked in HR at Paxton's biggest competitor. "Heard Candace tried to get an emergency loan at First National. They turned her down. Victor's assistant was there. She looked mortified." I grinned, running my hand along the smooth oak surface. There's something satisfying about working with your hands, creating something solid and permanent. Unlike marriages, apparently. My foreman, Mason, knocked on the workshop door. "Boss, there's a situation at the Riverside project." I looked up from my work. Mason was a good man, loyal, with hands like mine, scarred from honest work. "What kind of situation?" "Your wife and her boss showed up. They're demanding to speak with you." "Are they now?" I set down my sander and wiped my hands on my work pants. "Well, let's not keep the luxury model waiting." The Riverside project was a high-end residential development I'd been contracted to build. 15 custom homes for wealthy professionals who wanted to live in authentic craftsman-style houses built by someone who actually knew the craft. Candace and Victor were standing next to his pristine silver Porsche, both of them looking like they'd stepped out of a magazine. Victor was everything I wasn't. Tall, polished, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people made in a month. His perfectly styled hair and manicured nails screamed executive, while my calloused hands and work boots whispered peasant. "Jack." Victor's voice carried that particular brand of condescension that rich men perfect in business school. "We need to talk." "About what? The weather? Your car? How my wife tastes. I kept my voice level, conversational. Candace flinched. Victor's jaw tightened. About being reasonable, Victor continued. About not destroying everyone's lives over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding, I laughed. Is that what we're calling adultery now? My mistake. I'm just a contractor. I don't know all these fancy corporate terms. Jack, please. Candace stepped forward. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can what? Pretend you didn't spend the last 8 months fucking your boss? Pretend I didn't hear you laugh when he called me a starter kit? I shook my head. Sorry, sweetheart. I'm not that good of an actor. Victor placed a possessive hand on Candace's shoulder. Look, Ellery, I understand you're upset. But freezing the accounts, selling the house, it's extreme. Candace has needs. Needs? I stepped closer to Victor, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. She had needs, all right, and you were happy to meet them. But here's the thing about luxury models, Victor. They're expensive to maintain. Hope you're ready for that upgrade. Are you threatening me? Threatening you? I glanced around at my work site, at the houses I was building with my own hands. I'm just a contractor, remember? What could I possibly do to a luxury model like you? That's when my phone rang. I answered it without looking away from Victor's face. Jack Ellery Construction. Yes, this is Jack. The sprinkler system at the lake house? Yeah, I installed that myself. Remote access for maintenance. What do you mean it's malfunctioning? I hung up and smiled at Candace and Victor. Sounds like there's some kind of problem at your love nest. Something about the sprinkler system going off during your dinner party tonight. Shame. I hope your guests don't mind getting wet. Victor's face went red. You son of a... Careful now, I interrupted. We're in public. Wouldn't want anyone to see the luxury model lose his polish. The video went viral within hours. Someone at Victor's dinner party had filmed the entire disaster. The sprinkler system drenching 50 of the city's most prominent citizens, the sound system shorting out in a spectacular display of sparks, and Victor himself slipping on the wet marble floor and landing flat on his designer-suited ass. I watched it from my workshop, sharing a beer with Gabe, my old drinking buddy who ran a private security business. Gabe was ex-police, built like a brick wall, with a face that had seen too much, and a sense of humor that ran toward the dark side. Jesus, Jack, Gabe laughed, rewinding the video to watch Victor fall again. You really did a number on them. Look at his face when he realizes the whole thing is being broadcast live on his own security system. Best part is, it's all legal, I said, taking a long pull from my beer. I installed that system. I have legitimate maintenance access. If it malfunctioned during a storm, well, these things happen. Storm? Gabe raised an eyebrow. Check the weather report. Severe thunderstorm warning issued at 8 p.m., right when the system activated. Terrible timing. Gabe shook his head, grinning. You magnificent bastard. My phone buzzed with a text from Dana. Victor's at the office, screaming at his IT department. Apparently, someone leaked the security footage to half the town. Also, Candace is staying at the Marriott downtown. Room 237. Thought you should know. I showed the message to Gabe. Want to go for a drive? 20 minutes later, we were parked outside the Marriott, watching Candace pace back and forth in front of the hotel's floor-to-ceiling windows. She was on her phone, gesturing wildly, her perfect composure finally cracking. She looks upset, Gabe observed. She should be. I changed the locks on the house this afternoon. All of them? Every single one, including the garage door opener. I started the truck. Come on. I want to be there when she tries to get in. We beat her home by 10 minutes, long enough for me to position myself in the living room with a clear view of the front door. When Candace's BMW pulled into the driveway, I was ready. I watched through the window as she tried her key, tried it again, pulled out her phone and tried to call me. I let it go to voicemail. Then she started pounding on the door. Jack, Jack, open this door. This is my house too. I walked to the door but didn't open it. Not anymore, it's not. You can't lock me out of my own home. Actually, I can. Funny thing about joint property. When one spouse commits adultery, the other spouse gets certain legal protections. I had my lawyer draw up the papers this afternoon. Jack, please, we need to talk. We talked, remember? You laughed when your luxury model called me a starter kit. That was our conversation. I heard her start to cry. Real tears. Not the crocodile tears she used when she wanted something. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Where am I supposed to go? I hear Victor's got a nice place. Oh, wait, that's right. It got flooded tonight. Terrible accident. I paused. Guess you'll have to find another upgrade. The town fundraiser was held every year at the Riverside Country Club, a gathering of the city's elite to raise money for various charitable causes while gossiping about each other's failures. Normally, I wouldn't be caught dead at such an event, but this year I had a special invitation from the mayor himself, thanking me for my generous donation to the Children's Hospital Fund. The donation had been Candace's idea, back when she was still trying to climb the social ladder. Now it was serving my purposes perfectly. I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit, not designer, but well-tailored and clean. I looked like what I was, a successful contractor who'd built half the houses in the city with his own hands. Candace and Victor were holding court near the champagne fountain, surrounded by their usual crowd of sycophants and social climbers. Candace wore a stunning red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Victor looked polished as always, his arm possessively around my wife's waist. I made my way through the crowd, nodding to people I'd done work for, accepting congratulations on my successful business ventures. Word of my financial portfolio had leaked, probably through Dana's HR network, and suddenly everyone wanted to be my friend. Jack Ellery! Mayor Davidson pumped my hand enthusiastically. Hell of a donation, son. Hell of a donation. Just giving back to the community, Mayor. This city's been good to me. Heard you're expanding the business, new developments, something like that. I'm exploring some upgrades. I smiled, catching sight of Candace watching us from across the room. You know how it is. Sometimes you outgrow your current model. I excused myself and walked directly toward Candace and Victor. The crowd around them seemed to sense the approaching drama and gradually dispersed, leaving us in a small circle of uncomfortable silence. Victor, I nodded politely. How's the luxury model treating you? Get that recall notice yet? Victor's face flushed. What are you doing here, Ellery? Same thing as you, mingling with my betters, or at least people who think they're my betters. I looked directly at Candace. How's the hotel, sweetheart? Room service treating you well? Jack, don't do this here, she whispered. Do what? Make conversation? I'm just being social. I turned back to Victor. Speaking of social, I heard your dinner party was quite the splash, literally. Victor stepped closer, his voice low and threatening. You think you're clever? You think this little game of yours is going to work? Game? I raised my eyebrows innocently. I'm not playing games. I'm just a contractor, remember? A starter kit husband. What could I possibly do to someone like you? You son of a bitch, Victor snarled and shoved me hard in the chest. I let myself stumble backward, arms windmilling dramatically, and crashed directly into the champagne fountain. The entire elaborate structure came down in a cascade of crystal and Dom Perignon, soaking Victor from head to toe in expensive champagne. The entire ballroom went silent. I picked myself up, brushing glass from my suit, and looked at Victor with mock concern. Oh no, did I damage the luxury model? I hope you have insurance. Victor stood there, dripping champagne, his perfect hair plastered to his head, his expensive suit ruined. The crowd began to murmur, phones coming out to capture the moment. You did that on purpose, he said through gritted teeth. Did what? You pushed me. I fell. These things happen. I straightened my tie. Maybe you should work on your quality control. That's when Tanya, Candace's supposed best friend, decided to twist the knife. Oh my God, Candace. she said loud enough for half the room to hear. Did you know Victor's been sleeping with Linda from accounting too? And that intern from last summer? My husband heard it from someone on the board. Candace's face went white. What? Honey, I thought you knew. Everyone's talking about it. He's got quite the reputation. I watched Candace's world crumble in real time. The realization that she wasn't Victor's only side piece, that she was just another conquest in his collection, hit her like a physical blow. Victor, she whispered. But Victor was already walking away, dripping champagne and dignity in equal measure. I leaned close to Candace and whispered, looks like you weren't as upgraded as you thought. Maybe you should have stuck with the starter kit. 3 days later, Victor made his biggest mistake. He tried to get revenge. I was working late at the Riverside construction site, going over blueprints for the final phase of development, when I heard a car door slam in the parking area. Through the trailer window, I could see Victor's Porsche gleaming under the security lights. He was carrying a crowbar. I called Mason, who lived 10 minutes away, and Gabe, who lived 5. Then I stepped outside to meet my unexpected visitor.
He just gave me a massage, that's
A
it!
massage? With I Miss Your Body after?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Victor, what brings you to my humble construction site? Looking to upgrade your skill set? He turned, crowbar in hand, his face twisted with rage. You destroyed my reputation. You humiliated me in front of the entire city. Did I? I thought you did that all by yourself. I just provided the champagne shower. You think you're so smart, don't you? The clever little contractor who outsmarted the big bad executive. He hefted the crowbar. Let's see how smart you are now. Victor, I wouldn't do that if I were you. This site has security cameras, and my foreman is on his way. I don't care about cameras. I don't care about anything except making you pay. He swung the crowbar at the trailer's window, shattering it in an explosion of glass. Then he moved toward my truck, raising the weapon again. That's when Mason's pickup roared into the lot, followed immediately by Gabe's SUV. Both men got out, and Victor suddenly realized he was outnumbered. Problem here, boss? Mason asked, his voice deceptively calm. Just a dissatisfied customer, I replied. Mr. Paxton here seems to think our service needs improvement. Victor looked between the three of us, still gripping the crowbar. This isn't over, Ellery. Actually, it is. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screen. I've been recording this whole conversation. Breaking and entering, destruction of property, assault with a weapon. That's what, 5 to 10 years? Might be hard to maintain that luxury lifestyle from a prison cell. Victor's face went pale. He dropped the crowbar and started backing toward his car. Oh, and Victor, I called after him. You might want to check your employment status. Funny thing about security footage, it tends to find its way to corporate boards when executives go around committing felonies. He drove away, tires squealing, leaving the crowbar behind like evidence of his stupidity. Gabe picked up the weapon and examined it. Nice craftsmanship. German steel. Shame to waste it on vandalism. Keep it, I said. Consider it a trophy. Mason was already sweeping up the glass from the broken window. You want me to call the cops? No need. I think Mr. Paxton got the message. I looked at the security camera mounted on the trailer's corner, its red light blinking steadily. Besides, we got everything we need right there. 2 weeks later, Candace called me. Her voice was different, smaller, defeated. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that might have been desperation. Jack, we need to talk. Please, just let me explain. Explain what? How you threw away 12 years of marriage for a man who was screwing half his office? How you laughed when he called me a starter kit? What exactly needs explaining? I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can what, Candace? Pretend it never happened? Pretend I didn't see who you really are when you thought I wasn't looking? Jack, please, I have nowhere else to go. Victor fired me. He said I was a liability to the company. My parents won't even talk to me. Everyone in town knows what I did. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Meet me at the lake house tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. We'll talk. The lake house? But it's been sold. Closing isn't until next week. I still have the keys. We'll have privacy. Jack, thank you. Thank you so much. I knew you'd. Don't thank me yet, Candace. We haven't talked. I hung up and immediately called Victor. He answered on the first ring, his voice tense. What do you want, Ellery? I want to make a deal. Meet me at the lake house tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Bring your checkbook. Why would I? Because Candace is going to be there. Because she's broke and desperate and looking for someone to blame. Because if you don't show up, I'm going to let her tell her story to anyone who'll listen. And trust me, a scorned woman with nothing left to lose can do a lot of damage to a man's reputation. There was a long pause. What kind of deal? The kind that makes this whole mess go away. For everyone. Fine, 8 o'clock. I hung up and called Gabe. Remember that favor you owe me? Time to collect. The lake house sat on 3 acres of pristine waterfront property, all glass and steel and modern architecture. I'd bought it as an investment, back when Candace was still pretending to love me. She'd picked out every detail, from the imported marble floors to the state-of-the-art security system, the same security system I'd installed myself. Gabe arrived first, carrying a duffel bag full of equipment. You sure about this, Jack? Once we start, there's no going back. There was no going back the moment she decided to upgrade. Now we're just making sure everyone gets what they deserve. We spent an hour setting up, connecting wireless transmitters to the house's existing system, testing camera angles and audio feeds. By the time we were finished, every room was covered, every conversation would be recorded, and every moment would be broadcast live to a very select audience. Candace arrived exactly at 8, driving a rental car that had seen better days. She looked tired, older somehow, her perfect composure finally showing cracks. Jack, she called out as she entered the house. Jack, where are you? In the living room, I called back. Come on in. We have company. She walked into the main room and stopped dead when she saw Victor sitting on the leather sofa, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else in the world. What is he doing here? She demanded. Same thing you are? Trying to figure out how to clean up this mess. I gestured to the chairs across from the sofa. Sit down, both of you. We need to talk. Jack, I thought we were going to discuss our marriage. Our marriage, I laughed. Candace, our marriage ended the moment you decided I wasn't good enough for you. This isn't about reconciliation. This is about consequences. Victor shifted uncomfortably. Look, Ellery, let's just cut to the chase. How much do you want? Money? I shook my head. Victor, you still don't get it. This was never about money. That's when I pressed the button on the remote in my pocket. Every speaker in the house came alive with Victor's voice from that night at the office party. Jack Ellery, that contractor husband of yours, he's just a starter kit husband, sweetheart. I'm the luxury model. When you're ready to upgrade, you know where to find me. Candace's face went white. Jack, where did you... And here's my personal favorite, I continued, pressing another button. This time, it was Candace's voice, from a conversation she'd had with Tanya just last week. Jack, God, no, I could never go back to him. Can you imagine? After Victor, going back to that would be like trading a Ferrari for a pickup truck. You recorded me? Candace whispered. I recorded everything. Every conversation, every meeting, every lie you told to cover your tracks. I stood up, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the lake. But the best part isn't what I recorded. It's who's listening. I pressed one more button, and suddenly the house's security monitors came alive, showing dozens of viewing windows, live feeds being watched by what looked like half the city. You see, when I installed this security system, I included a feature that most people don't know about. In case of emergency, it can broadcast live to a network of connected devices, police stations, fire departments, emergency services. I turned back to face them, smiling. And anyone else who happens to have the access codes. Victor jumped to his feet. You son of a bitch! You're broadcasting this? To everyone who matters. Your board of directors, Candace's parents, all those people from the country club who thought you were such a perfect couple. I checked my phone. Current viewer count is at 237 and climbing. Candace was staring at the monitors in horror. Jack, please don't do this. Do what? Tell the truth? Show people who you really are? I shook my head. Sorry, sweetheart. You wanted an upgrade. This is it. That's when Victor made his second biggest mistake of the evening. He lunged at me. I sidestepped easily, and Victor crashed into the glass coffee table, shattering it and landing hard on the marble floor. When he tried to get up, his expensive suit was torn and bloody, his perfect hair disheveled. Careful, Victor, I said, looking down at him. The luxury model seems to have some quality control issues. I'll destroy you for this, he snarled, struggling to his feet. With what? Your reputation? Your job? Your credibility? I laughed. Victor, you're finished. The board saw you attack me. They heard you admit to the affair. They watched you fall apart on live television. Candace was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. Jack, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, just turn it off. I'll do anything. Anything? I pulled out a legal document from my jacket. Sign this. She took the papers with shaking hands. What is it? Divorce papers. No alimony, no property settlement. No claims on my business or assets. You walk away with nothing except the clothes on your back. Jack, I have nothing. Nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you decided to upgrade. I handed her a pen. Sign it, or I release all the recordings to the media. Every conversation, every lie, every detail of your affair. She signed. I turned to Victor, who was still bleeding from his encounter with the coffee table. Your turn. I'm not signing anything. You're not signing. You're confessing. I held up my phone, which had been recording everything. Confessing to corporate espionage, sexual harassment, and fraud. The intern from last summer, Linda from accounting, the other women you pressured into sleeping with you? I smiled. They're all willing to testify now. Funny how a public scandal gives people courage. Victor's face went gray. What do you want? I want you to disappear. Resign from Paxton Industries. Leave town. Never contact my wife again. I paused. Ex-wife, I should say. And if I don't? Then I release everything. The recordings, the testimony, the evidence of your corporate crimes. You'll be lucky if prison is the worst thing that happens to you. He nodded slowly, defeated. I walked to the security panel and turned off the live broadcast. The monitors went dark, leaving us in the sudden silence of the empty house. There's one more thing, I said, turning back to face them both. The lake house? It's not being sold to some anonymous buyer. I'm keeping it, but not for me. I pulled out another set of legal documents. I'm donating it to the city. It's going to become a shelter for abused women. Women who need a safe place to go when their lives fall apart. Candace stared at me in shock. Jack, you can't. I can, and I am. The Candace Ellery Center for Women in Crisis. Your name will be on a plaque by the front door forever. A permanent reminder of what happens when you take good people for granted. Victor was already heading for the door, his dignity in tatters. This isn't over, Ellery. Yes, it is, I called after him. It's been over since the moment you called me a starter kit. You just didn't know it yet. Candace lingered for a moment, looking around the house she'd designed, the life she'd thrown away. Jack, don't. I held up a hand. We're done, Candace. We've been done for months. This was just making it official. She left without another word. I stood alone in the empty house, looking out at the lake, where the moon reflected like a broken mirror on the dark water. My phone buzzed with a text from Dana. Holy shit, Jack. Half the city watched that. You're either a genius or completely insane. I typed back, maybe both. Another text, this one from Gabe. Beer? Yeah, but not here. This place has too many memories. I locked up the house and walked to my truck. Tomorrow I'd start the paperwork to convert the property into a women's shelter. Tomorrow I'd begin the process of rebuilding my life without Candace. But tonight I was going to have a beer with my friend and celebrate the fact that sometimes, just sometimes, the starter kit turns out to be exactly what you need. 6 months later, I was standing in my workshop, putting the finishing touches on a custom dining room set for the Patterson family, when Mason knocked on the door. Boss, there's someone here to see you. I looked up to see a woman in her 30s, well-dressed but nervous, standing in my doorway. Behind her was a little girl, maybe 8 years old, with serious eyes and a shy smile. Mr. Ellery, I'm Sarah Chen. I wanted to thank you. Thank me for what? For the shelter. the Candace Ellery Center. She put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. We stayed there for 3 months after I left my husband. It gave us time to get back on our feet, to find our own place. I set down my sandpaper and wiped my hands on my work shirt. You don't need to thank me for that. Yes, I do. That place saved our lives, she paused. I heard about what happened with your wife. I'm sorry. Don't be. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is finding out who people really are. The little girl stepped forward, holding out a drawing. I made this for you. It was a crayon drawing of a house, bright and cheerful, with stick figures of a woman and a child standing in front of it. At the bottom, in careful block letters, she'd written, "Thank you for giving us a home." I knelt down to her level. What's your name, sweetheart? Emma. Well, Emma, this is the most beautiful drawing I've ever seen. Would it be okay if I hung it up in my workshop? She nodded, beaming. After they left, I tacked the drawing to the wall above my workbench, right next to my tools and blueprints. A reminder that sometimes the things we build outlast the people we build them for. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost didn't read it, but curiosity got the better of me. Jack, it's Candace. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. But sometimes, from the ashes of one life, you can build something better. I picked up my sander and got back to work, the sound of Emma's laughter still echoing in my ears, her drawing watching over me like a blessing. The luxury model had been recalled. The starter kit was working just fine.